Everyone has listened at least once to the saying that goes, "Your room is a reflection of your mind." Yeah, mostly as a motivation to clean your space. And that made us think how important space is in literature, actually. So today we are addressing this matter, and to do so, we're going to see how the development of Gregor Samsa as the principal character of the Metamorphosis is linked to the spaces of the house. In order to accomplish this objective, we are going to divide this video in three sections. 1. The room reconstruction that we are going to do so. 2. Gregor's room as an identity marker of his personality. And 3. The room transformation.
Gregor's room is packed with elements that reconstruct in our imagination how Gregor views his own space and also the way he relates to the other members of the family. With the description that the first chapter gives, we can start to build a functional map of how Gregor's rooms work. We have several clues about the room distribution. First, a collection of textile samples laid spread on the table. Samsa was a traveling salesman, and about it there hung a picture that he had recently cut out of an illustrated magazine and a housed nice gilded frame. This means the picture is above the desk, and since the first thing that he sees is the picture, we can imagine that these elements are located in front of the bed. Moving to the next element, Gregor then turned to look out the window at the dull weather. Please notice that Gregor is still in his bed, and in order to look out the window, he has to turn his head. Therefore, the window must be at one side of the bed. Then we have, there was a cautious knock at the door, near his head. "Gregor," somebody called. It was his mother. We know that the mother is calling Gregor from the living room. Then we can associate this door to that space. In addition, the son was near his head, so this door must be close to the heading of the bed. From the room on his right, Gregor's sister whispered, to let him know, "Gregor, the chief clerk is here." If we keep talking about doors, we can find that Gregor's room doesn't only have one door, but two, the latter leading to Greg's room. However, we need to highlight that the only way in which Gregor could have listened to his sister whispering is that the door has to be close enough to the bed. But if we use common sense, we can conclude that this door cannot share the same wall with the living room door nor the window. As a result, we believe that the Greg's room door is in the opposite wall of the window and next to the bed. His sister called from the other side. They communicate across Gregor's room. With this one, we can reaffirm the idea that both doors cannot share the same wall. Then, he's made a little frame. For instance, it only took him 2 or 3 evenings. You'll be amazed how nice it is. It's hung up in his room. You will see it as soon as Gregor opened the door. Going back to the picture, the quote mentioned that this element can be seen as soon as someone's opened the living room door. Consequently, both the bed and the living room are located in front of the picture. The first few times he tried to climb up on the smooth chest of drawers, he just slid down again. Then we have a new item, the drawer. For this one, it's important to remember that Gregor just fell off the bed, and it's on its side, so we can locate the drawer between the living room door and the bed. No, he let himself fall against the back of a nearby chair and held tightly to the edges of it with his little legs. For this one, I need to mention that according to the father, Gregor's room is messy despite having a maid, something we'll talk about later, so it makes sense that there is a chair next to the bed even if the desk is on the opposite side of the room. Gregor slowly pushed his way over the door with the chair. Once there, he let go of it and threw himself onto the door. Finally, we can reassert that both the drawer and the chair are next to the living room door, leaving us with a complete image of Gregor's room according to the chapter 1 descriptions.
When we first imagine Gregor's room based on the description that the author gives us, the image immediately becomes unignorable. A dull, simple, and hermetic room full with stuff related to his work that could give us a sign. Gregor is a workaholic. His job is almost the center of everything in his daily life. No hobbies, no fun. just the responsibility of performing at a high level of excellency and providing to his family. His room, a proper human room, although a little too small, lay peacefully between its four familiar walls. A collection of textile samples lay spread out on the table. Samsa was a traveling salesman, and above of it there hung a picture that he had recently cut out of an illustration magazine and housed in a nice gilded frame. Back to the room, beauty is noticeable a very particular feature. The room is disorganized. And the problem is not accommodation, it is, in fact, the Samsas had the wage to hire a maid, probably paid by Gregor's hard work. The maid should have cleaned and tied up Gregor's room at least once, but probably he would have made a mess over and over. It is for sure that being unable to keep the things in its place shows how stressed and overwhelmed he have been since everything started. Besides the room appearance, another interesting item to analyze are the doors. The room distribution often leads us to the doors and their connection to the rest of the house. The spaces are described in a high level of detail that reveals a key fact. Doors are not just structures that build up the room space, yet a form of Kafka to show us the relationship between each character and Gregor. And this takes us to another part of this video, that is the comparison. See, doors in the metamorphosis are a symbol, a connection between Gregor and Gret as siblings. And then, how is this connected, for example, to Caroline? In Caroline and the Secret Door, we can see that the connection between the real world and the other world where this evil witch was is portrayed again through a little door. And the connection is not something like siblings, like happens in the metamorphosis, but it's a connection between what Caroline actually lives and what she actually wants to, the attention of a real parent. Back to the Gregor's room, we can see that meanwhile the parents have to go across the living room just to knock on Gregor's door, Gret is able to talk directly with her brother by simply leaning on the door that links both rooms and whispering. As we have seen so far, Gregor's identity is reflected by how the room is distributed, the organization and the connections that are shown through the doors, leaving us with a portrait that conveys that the death of Gregor as the main character of the story, just using a space as guide map to dive by scene.
After the shock in Chapter 1, we got closer to Gregor's transformation into vermin, and that directly connects with how the room starts to change. His character develops a feeling of discomfort toward the place that he belonged to before the metamorphosis. Some examples are, for some reason, the dull, empty room where he was forced to remain made him feel uneasy as he later flat on the floor, even though he had been living in it for 5 years. Although the book has stated how the room seems to be too little now to contain him, it was the only place in the house that makes him feel safe, unseen, protected from the sight of his parents and greed. For example, the couch as a place of comfort. Gregor went straight to hide himself under the couch, of course, but he had to wait until midday before his sister came back, and she seemed much more uneasy than usual. Likewise, the walls and the ceiling evolve into entertaining elements that show us how the protagonist started to adequate his behavior to fit his new body and lifestyle, portraying the meaningful change he's going through. To entertain himself, he got into the habit of crawling up and down the walls and the ceiling. He was especially fond of hanging from the ceiling. He was quite different from lying down on the floor. He could breathe more freely, his body had a live swing to it, and up there, relaxed and almost happy, it might happen that he would surprise even himself by letting go of the ceiling and landing on the floor with a crash.
To the time that Gret and Gregor's mother emptied his room for the sake of his new self, Gregor expressed with his behavior and properly described thoughts how painful and disrupting this was for his identity. The description of how the elements were being taken out of the room demonstrates that to each one of them, memories, experiences, and key parts of Gregor's room were more than just flat elements, but small capsules that represents part of who was Gregor. Now they threatened to remove the writing desk with its plates clearly worn into the floor. The desk where he had done his homework as a business trainee at high school, even while he had been at infant school. He really could not wait any longer to see whether the two women's intentions were good.
As we have seen through the whole video, the space not only plays a backbone role for the characters to develop their role in the scenario, but as a tool to vividly convey the depth of more interpersonal features such as the personality, which gives Gregor's room almost a lead role in the story.
Through its design, the room does not only present Gregor's transformation, it externalizes his isolation, frustration, and the attachment to a humanity he can no longer inhabit. Moreover, it is important to stick out how the story is not the only one that uses spaces to express meaning. Other works, as Coraline, that we have used its scenes as background for this video, also plays with the literature places to convey such meanings.